Okay. It is, what week are we in? Week 8. Week number 8. I have to remember, guys, what I'm saying. Week number 8 or week number 3, depending on whether it's an 11-point week or 5.5. So now I know that this is an 11-week class, which I'm told that they're going to be changing this starting uh, in the fall because they already got me teaching it again, but it's going to be a 5.5-week class. So you want to do well in this class because the next time, if you take it again, it's going to be a 5.5 class. At any rate, this is Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice, and you know my name, but if you don't, it says I'm Richard Wright, and so I'm going to start right now by sharing my screen, giving you information and details concerning what the assignments are for the week. Then we'll deal with a little content, and then we adjourn. These are pretty short lectures, actually, for this particular course. So let's share my screen, which I am sharing. So let's move. Okay, there we go. So coming down all the way to the bottom, we get to your written assignment for week 8. Okay, so your written assignment is a field work progress. And as I always stress, make sure you pay attention to the rubrics, which you guys are very familiar with by now. They're located on the course homepage, but I also sent them to each and every one of you at the beginning of the quarter, week 1. So this one is your progress report on how you're coming along with your field work. And so you get 15 points when you explain your progress requirements, present issues or concerns that dealt with in your fieldwork assignment, and then make sure you have citations in the body and references at the end and a cover sheet. And you should be using fonts that are 12-point Roman, real 12-point fonts. And so to get that 30 points, you have to do all of these things. And I do run your papers through Grammarly, which all of you are familiar with by now, the process by which you run your papers through and check the plagiarism box to make sure that you have critical thinking included in your papers, which we harp on because it's very important. We know that people will do research and they'll provide sources, but we want to know how do you analyze them, how you break them down. I'm a natural critical thinker because having gone to law school, we learned the Socratic method, which taught us to be critical thinkers automatically. And I'm guilty of being a critical thinker. And I'm talking to my kids, and sometimes my wife, she'll say, "Okay, I'm not understand." I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I'm just trying to process it the way that I do it." But anyway, that's what we end up doing. So anyway, we're here with our live lecture, our lecture number 3, and we'll have one more lecture. Actually, it's kind of lecture number 3, but week 1, week 3, week 6. So it's really lecture number 4, and then we have one more lecture week 10. So for the next even weeks, remember the quarter ends September 14th, 11:59 p.m. So, I forgot. This is one of the courses that you have to have a keyword. So, I provide that. I get really thrown off on some of these courses. So if I said that earlier, you didn't have to have one, but you all already know that you do have to have a keyword because I'm reminded. I'm not the professor who forgets. I'm just a professor who teaches 5 classes and about nearly 140 to 50 students. So that's a lot of students on different topics. So anyway, at the end of this, I will post week 8 lecture, and then you'll have the links to that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and move that. Get back to Okay, the top here, and let's go all the way up. So let's get to our announcement. Okay, and let's open it up. So here's your announcement for the week. It says Module 8, Gaining Real-World Experience. And as I already said to you, this is more of a survey course than anything else. It's a course, too, to help you prepare for employment. It's more of a career preparation course. And so we have you do exercises to prepare you so that when you do ultimately go out and apply for a job in whatever area you decide to work in, that you are prepared with resumes, because there's going to be a section on resumes that's coming up. And so we are not heavy on a textbook, as you already know. If somebody says, I couldn't find a textbook, well, yeah, that's very easy deal. There is no textbook. And that, so this is more like an independent studies type thing. Okay. So anyway, your discussion assignment is due every Tuesday. Fieldwork issues and experiences, and several you have submitted those. And your reply posts are due by Saturday, and I've already stressed and gone over what I expect of you of discussion assignments. By now you're familiar with my process of grading and letting you know what you can do to make it better, or letting you know what caused you to lose points. Or if you got no points, to let you know why. You don't have to scratch your head because it's all right there given. Finally, you have your written assignment that I just talked about, field work progress report. Okay, so you know why I say adversity is a springboard to success, because you know my story about my life. So let's go over and take a quick gander at the course calendar. Okay, so here we are. Let's move that up a little bit there. Week, gaining real-world experience, and it tells you that's the topic for the week. And then your initial post, and then your reply post, and then your field work assignment that's due by Sunday. Notice it says your live lecture is due Sunday. What that means is that you should have, because today, before the end of the day, I will upload the video, and I will send it out to each of you, post it also on the course homepage as you saw earlier, and with the word that you need to put in to get your grade. So, and that's how that works. So that's what you do. So then, of course, next week is week 9. You'll be doing, remember I told you about resumes. That's when you'll be dealing with that next week. So there will not be a lecture for that. And then week 10, that's going to be the weekend of Labor Day, the Labor Day weekend. Yes, we will be working and doing assignments on the 3rd, that's Labor Day, but again, because we're coming down the stretch here, okay? So, and then we'll be in September. So that's that. So let's go all the way down and deal with gaining real-world experience. You know, I'll say this at the beginning, that one of the most exciting things for me that helped me gain real-world experiences as I go to the assignments here is, okay, here's your, again, I'm going to go back over 1 to 2 page. Make sure you run it through Grammarly so you don't get a Grammarly hit. And let me know how you're doing, and then your discussion post there, your live lecture. So those are your assignments for that period. Let's go back. But what I was getting ready to say to you, that gaining real-world experience, one of the greatest things that happened to me, and I shared this during my open house first week, is that we're talking about this module, gaining professional experience, the importance of that. Now, one of the things that I fortunately was able to do, and many of you do in your areas, and some of you already are, is to be exposed on a lower level to the career that you want to undertake. I personally wanted to be a lawyer. So when I came out of high school, while I registered in night school because I had issues, couldn't get help, but I went to night school and junior college before I transferred to a four-year institution where I also went nights and Saturdays. But at that same time, I got a job in a big law firm, and that was the key, starting in their mailroom. And when I was there, getting my foot in the door and the rest of my body in there, I presented excellence to them. I dressed for success. I carried myself success. I kept myself well groomed and everything. I talked to the lawyers and, observed and, when they had times, they would invite me to sit down with them and, say, how's it going? And so forth and so on. And so anyway, and that caused me to move up the ranks in that law firm from a messenger to a file clerk to a law librarian, and then ultimately I told you how I became what's called a paralegal, today law clerk. By this time I was matriculating through school. But here's what I'm saying. So then when I went to law school, legal writing was one of the first assignments I had to do. I was already a legal writer when I was in college from the job. So what I'm saying is that my working on the job. So how do you do that if you're in corrections, like what we're doing here? You do assignments. The way I had it in the course I taught, Introduction to Corrections, you had a project assignment where you picked a topic, whether it's probation, parole, jails, or prison, within that corrections area. And then, I had students who want to be police officers. They weren't in that class, or they were, but they had to do it on corrections so they could understand the corrections aspect of the criminal justice system. But here's my point, is that the way that they got experience is by interviewing, whether it's on-site and or researching the area or field that they were interested in going, and talking to people who worked in the field, making connections. In law enforcement, one of the ways that people do it, and some of them in this class do it, is dealing with ride-alongs and going out on those kinds of situations. If you wanted to look at the law aspects of it in this particular course, you may go to court. I had a student that said she went to court, observe a criminal case, see how it works. And then, you can sometimes even talk to the people that work in the areas and let them know you're a student, not in court, you don't interrupt court, but, after court. And then also, the other thing is that the judges, if they know that you are a student, they will accommodate you and let you know that they'll help you out in terms of learning things. So what you're doing is you're making your contacts. You are learning about what's actually done. You're getting what I call hands-on experience, and not just reading a book and reading it out of the book. You're learning how it works on a day-to-day basis with people who actually are working in the field. So therefore, the field work in this particular course is critical in that aspect because it gives you a chance to do what I said. If I was in school and I had to do a field report, I would just write about what I do at work and what I learned at work from the people I work with at work. And that's what a lot of you guys do. Some of you already work in law enforcement. Some of you already work in corrections. Some of you are working in probation, parole, or jails, those kind of things. Some of you are human services people that are getting your degrees so that you can move up the ladder. And anyway, the point of the matter is that the field work gives you the hands-on, real application of what you're going to end up doing when you get into that field. Okay, so it's not busy work. It's what you are learning. And so the assignment, because this is the whole thing, listening to what I'm saying, is that the progress field work experience is invaluable. What I learned while I was even a messenger, taking packages back and forth to corporations like McDonald's, meeting the founder of McDonald's, and then going eventually where the lawyers allowed me to go to court with them, go to real estate closings, and I'd sit and I'd observe. And so, so what you're doing in your papers and your assignment this week is explaining the progress. Don't approach this as if, okay, I can just throw something in there. That's not doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a disservice, because the idea is for you to, it's almost like writing a diary, people, where you have captured what you learned and discovered. I have a policy that every day I learn something new. And one of the things that I always learn, and I still continue to learn now, even though I retired from being a lawyer in 2000, it's 18 years later, but my mind is as sharp as it was on the law, because I go to seminars. I was at a seminar last week where Illinois chiefs of police, they had the FBI, they had Secret Service, they had state, county, and local police departments. They had all kinds of vendors there who had like technology that the police officers are using, and it was an expo for that. And I went there, and then I sat and listened to experts discuss issues like the opioid crisis and how law enforcement is stepping up. And in my drugs and crime course, I provided some information and details on that. What I'm simply saying to you is that you continue your education all the while once you get in. And so your fieldwork experience opens doors for you. I've made contacts with people that I had before I went to law school, and since that time continue. So this assignment of your fieldwork is just awesome. When you get ready to go to the experience of the next week and you're putting together your resume, and then you're actually doing an interview, and you know one of the assignments had to do with, and I think it was in week 7, yeah, good and poor communication. And the point of the matter is, when you start talking about those different things, and you had to do a video, or either you could find a video online, what I was doing with that assignment is giving you an opportunity to see what people actually do when they go to interviews, and it'll blow you away. Some of the stuff that people do, how they go and dress, and how they sit back and they're slouched down, and you know they pull out, ask for their resume, and then they unfold it out of their pocket, you know, or something like that, you know. But you got to put your best foot forward, and so we want you to be able to operate in a professional fashion. So when you go, because I can tell you, they'll say, well, thank you for coming out for interviewing for this position. You'll be hearing from us. And so anyway, they turn to the shredder and shred your document. And then you be waiting to hear, and then they finally says, oh, we don't have a record. Or either you'll get a letter before you get home, or either now an email sometimes that beats you home that says, thank you for your interviewing with us, but we have decided, you know, not to make you an offer, or those kind of things. But it's based on you. You're the one, you know. Every interview I went to, I made it clear, and this was even before technology, that if you didn't want me, I didn't say those in these words, but by the time I got through with the interview, that's how the person felt. They says, wow, okay, I think that, you know, we want to give you an offer and consider. Guys, I never had a job that I was turned down from. I remember, though, when I was in law school, in my year, I went to work at another law firm for the summer just to see if it was any different between law firms, because I was in corporate law at that time. I wanted to be criminal, but I was working my way through whatever I had. But it was called LAW, and that's all I needed. And so I got at this law firm and I worked that summer and I had a lot of fun, enjoyed and learned. And I really wasn't interested in staying there. And, you know, they did the final exit interview and said, how did you enjoy your summer with us? And I told them it was nice. I learned some things. I said some very valuable things. I got a chance to work on contracts with companies like Motown, the record company, the Chicago White Sox, which Jerry Reinsdorf, who I later would find out actually went to the same law school I did before. I worked on some movie contracts. I said I appreciated and enjoyed those, but you know, I am leaning towards my law firm where I came from and going back there. So they says, okay, we appreciate your candor and honesty, and I didn't get an offer. Well, of course, I basically said I dictated the terms, but they wanted to know what I felt, and so I told them the truth. So but I never after that had an interview that I didn't get a job for. When I applied at the college, I was at the college, and they wanted to hire me to teach business law. Well, I could teach that as a lawyer. And so I came in. I had to do a mock teaching before the dean. I had to interview with the campus director at Rasmussen, Romeoville, and I sat up. I provided my resume to her, and I gave her my, I had sealed copies of my academic transcripts that demonstrated that they were not tampered with by me, but I was just giving it to them. So anyway, when I got to the dean, I actually had to come back another day to see him. And what I'm telling you, this is for a reason so you'll understand, is that I wanted this teaching job, and I was going to be a part-time adjunct position. So what I ended up doing was I was told that I'm going to have to demonstrate that I can teach. And this was at this time residentially, okay? So I went home and I prepared a lesson that I could teach. It wasn't like an hour or half an hour. It was only about 10 minutes. And I had my my PowerPoints and I had everything there. So I came and I did it. And so it was just he and I in the room. And so I was doing it, and I noticed that he was nodding off. And so I said, I've seen this already, because I had to go through this as a minister when I preached a sermon, my trial sermon, to see how I would respond to that. And so I was already ready. I just kept, and so then what I did was I was speaking, and then I went and stood by him at the desk where he was and put my hand on it and kept on talking, and he sat up straight. And so then after that he wrote down something. I didn't know what he wrote down until at the end. But anyway, I went in and I was, you know, talking to my audience, who was that one person. I kept eye contact with him. I kept moving. I didn't stand in one spot. I wasn't speaking monotone, you know, and I was excited about what I was sharing with them. So then I says, and that concludes our lesson for today. Next week we'll continue, and bam, well, there was no next week. So then after that he sat down with me and he says, I'd love to hire you, but you got to pass the background check. So I laughed. He was laughing too. But anyway, he did say, I did make one note on you. He says, I love the way that you didn't get distracted by what I was doing and how you handled that. He says, you were like a lion tamer. And so I said, are you a lion? And he started laughing. But anyway, the bottom line point was, that's the way I know how to do that. I had to learn that as a lawyer. Anyway, connecting with jurors, they nodded off, and their minds would be on other things. I'd have to walk and talk with them and, you know, get up and talk to them. The bottom line is this: communication and the ability to be able to teach and reach. That's what I do extremely well as an individual, and it's a gift. But the point I'm trying to get across to you guys is what I had to do was I had to show that I really could teach. Just because I was a lawyer didn't mean I could teach business law. And so I demonstrated, and of course I got in and I got the job. And so anyway, here's what happened. I took the job as an adjunct teaching business law, but I quickly met with the dean after and says, I'm a criminal justice person. He says, I'll keep that in mind. And so the next quarter, they transferred me over to criminal justice as an adjunct. And I worked as an adjunct for a while. I had opportunities to go to other places, offers that were looking for full-time, but I liked what the college was doing. And so I engaged myself as a adjunct. Listen to me. That they forgot I was an adjunct because I was always around so much. I even moved close to the campus. I lived 50 miles away, and I let them know. And I was at campus all the time. And I won an award for being actively involved on the campus that only 2 adjunct professors ever won. And the peers selected me. But what I'm leading to this to show you something is that I ended up getting that award. And then bottom line is that I had a boss who was a excuse me, who was a full-timer, and he was the state program coordinator of the School of Justice Studies. And I would agree to help him when he couldn't get to our campus because he was in Rockford. So I was his go-to guy. So he brought one time to the campus, and I would happen to be there, the dean, his boss, who had flown in from Kansas and was visiting all 4 campuses, the Romeoville, the Aurora Tinley Park, the Mokina Aurora campus as well, and he was from Rockford. So he was involved, and he was over the state and state program coordinator. And so anyway, he just introduced me to him, and I had a nice conversation with him. I wasn't trying to, I was wanting a full-time position, but they weren't taking anybody. So then, as it would, sometime after that, I don't remember, it was a few months later, the guy who introduced me to him, who was the state program coordinator, decided that he wanted to do something else. So he left. As soon as that happened, the position opened up. I knew and heard about it through the grapevine. And then I started preparing myself, guys. Listen, I put together a plan. I sat down and saw what the job was that the other person had done. I did research. I prepared a strategic plan. I had it in a binder. I had it taken it to Kinko's, and Kinko's set it up professionally. And I had copies made of those. And then I had it on a PDF doc as well. So then I applied. My resume was cleaned up and fixed up. And I sat down, and this is what I did. I wrote questions. I was going to do a phone interview with the same person I had met. I had forwarded I had forwarded HR my resume. They didn't have that plan. They just had my resume because that's all they really wanted. And so anyway, they forwarded it to him, and he made a phone call to me to do a half-hour interview, he said, and we talked about things. And I had on my list in front of me, people, every question that he asked me, I had already prepared the answer that I was going to need. I was ready. I was set. And so with doing that, I ended up finding myself with an opportunity that he liked me. So what I'm trying to share with you so you understand it is that the details of the information that I'm having here shows you how I used communication, how I utilized the transferable skills that I had learned earlier within working myself that transferred into action. And so long story after that short is that he interviewed me and he said, I like what, he had one question he asked me at the end, I'll never forget it. What makes you more qualified than anybody else for this job. And I told him the reason why. And after I finished it, he said, I think I got my man, but I got to go through and interview other people, and he did. And so I was hired. What I'm trying to show you is how you actually connect from the field, what you learn, and how even once you're actually doing it, how you can move up the ladder in terms of it. And that's what we're dealing with in this particular course. So I am going to give you your keyword before I adjourn: field work. Field work. That's it. And so with that, I'm going to say good night to you, and hope to see you in week 10. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day. Okay.